Stacy, sorry, I'm a few seconds late this morning. We are loving my veteran, and we are going to get started today with our series on our walking our in our shoe series. We are going to talk about body language and how body language affects communication. Before we get started, we just have so much to say and so much housekeeping to do. The first thing is our prayers and our hearts and our thoughts are with everybody who's been in the path of Hurricane Sally. Um, Not only did it hit the Gulf Coast and affect them in Florida and Alabama, but it came up and put quite an ugly thing through Georgia and headed to the Carolinas now. So, anyway, just our thoughts and prayers are with them. Please be mindful that PTSD plays a horrible role. Sorry, I didn't even turn the phones off this morning. Plays a horrible role in when it comes to tragedies like this, and when you have a veteran and their family or anyone with PTSD and their family being displaced, it's going to be tougher. So please pray for them. This morning, I've already been on the phone with my good friends at Behind the Service, and we're reaching out to our partners, and we're going to set up a network where we can offer help to those who are affected by Hurricane Sally. There'll be more information coming on as we speak. In fact, there's showing now. Um, so there'll be much more of that coming up as we go on. So please stay tuned, and we'll get them on all of the groups and social media as possible. So there's just a lot of housekeeping we have to do, but we're just so grateful for y'all and to be here. Don't forget tonight we do Let's Talk. It's a Zoom meeting. Links will be on all the pages, so we will just have a really open, great conversation about life and so I know Facebook doesn't like Sana and I either one lately. She said didn't alert her that we were live. Yeah, it doesn't like either one of us lately. But it's just a great way to talk, and we're doing it through Zoom. Um, and as we've all gone through this in the past couple of days, I'm having like a horrible bad hair day. As we're going through all of this, we're learning that we have to get pulled. We're having to refocus off of the Facebook platform due to some of the new policies. We're finding that some of our videos aren't staying. So we have a YouTube channel, Loving My Veteran. Go there, subscribe. All of this stuff will be on there sometime today. Our website is a work in progress, I assure you, but I promise you it is getting there. So it's lovingmyveteran.com. Um, I'm on LinkedIn. We should have that up by the first of next week. So, like I said, we're using Zoom and some other platforms. So we will still be able to stay in touch, and this communities will still be able to grow when we have some amazing partners and friends who are all of our goal is the same thing, is to help our veterans. So girlfriend already subscribed. I got to subscribe to yours at some point today, just for me. um, Mine the service also has a YouTube channel. So please subscribe to them as well. You know, we're not in competition with anybody here. I think that's the thing that people are like, oh, well, you guys talk about it. Yeah, we do. Because our number one goal as a community is just to love each other and love our veterans. So again, please keep everybody from Sally in your prayers. Keep all of this huge community of people in our prayers because we love y'all and it's very important. Positive feedback is coming from everywhere. Just the things that we're doing and saying and y'all are doing and saying is the biggest thing. By joining these communities and supporting the communities and each other. So today we're actually going to talk about, now enough of the housekeeping nonsense. We're going to talk about body language and how body language really affects communication. I'm grateful that I've done this series because it's made me rethink how I live my life at our house. But your body language plays a big role. Their body language plays a big role. And you start to look for subtle hints even in their body language, not when you're in necessarily an argument, but in their body language throughout the day. I know that I'm famous for looking at Carl and saying, um, "What's wrong?" He's like, "I'm fine." And they tend to say that. But there is a way that he takes a deep breath. And I know at that point that there's something, and it's in his body language. So be aware of their body language because sometimes their body language is telling you when they zone out. Sometimes they don't hear you, not because they don't want to, but because they're clearing their mind. So body language is a huge difference. I am a hugger. I've always been a hugger. It's one of those things that happen. So I yell and I hug. So it's not just great. Um, but there's times that in the way our house is set up, and I'm sure it's like most of y'all's, where there's certain furniture in certain places to look at doors and windows, just like we all have to live with, and that's fine. I'm good with that. Um, I can approach him from the side, coming out of our kitchen, and approach him from the side and kind of jump, kind of be startled, and he's watched me walk into the kitchen, but it's the way that I come back um, in and like I'll stand at the end of the couch where he's sitting and I'll be like, "Hey, I love you." Well, he kind of, especially if he's in a zone or even just focused on TV or whatever, he'll kind of go and back up. And I have to learn that the way I approach him is not necessarily the smartest thing we can do. So body language will set the tone. Um, So now I typically will take a step or two further away from the couch. And if I want to give him a kiss, I will bend down in front of him, kind of off to the side, and give him a kiss or whatever. But when I approach him from that side, especially if he's either in a place or even just focused on watching TV and he's just trying to unwind and I come in from that side, it's a trigger to him. It kind of changes his body language. So be careful in how you approach them. Same thing with us. We want our space. We want to be hugged. We all have our different vices. So just make sure that your body language reflects that. When we get into a heated moment, or we have something that we really, really, really need to say, and we all get frustrated. And I think that for me, I feel like I'm talking to the deaf. And so the louder I get, I think the more I'm going to accomplish, and that doesn't work. So, um, and then I must think that he's blind too, because I must have to get into his space, and stepping into that space in my own frustrations or anger is never a good thing. You've set yourself up for a bad situation. So your body language plays a huge role. Um, I know that there have been people who've talked about sitting, we've talked about this. Damon and Michelle, you sitting on the floor. I told you that would just go in Carl's words, like a fart in church. But that kind of happens. And so what we need to find out is what works for each other. I know that same level is very important. It's been very important in communication, regardless of who you're communicating with. Um, you want to discipline your children or talk to your children where they really understand, they will tell you get on their level, bend down to them. Um, all my time through college, I think the only class I ever remember is my psychology class as a freshman in college, and probably the only class I ever attended as a freshman in college, by the way, because I really thought Beach 101 was a much better place to be. But I remember my psychology professor, he gave me such great advice about letting people engage your space and contacting with people when you stand above them, not even towering out of anger over them, but when you stand above them, it gives, regardless of who you're talking to, it makes them feel inferior. and you are a superior. And if you want to have a peer-to-peer conversation or a partnership conversation, or and you want them not to get defensive, regardless of who you're talking to, eye to eye. We learn that in you think about when you go to a conference and you're signed up for a meeting or whatever at a conference, and so the speaker is the authority, right? That's who you came to hear. Why do you think they're on a stage? They're a level above you because they are the authority on whatever they're speaking on. That's why we do it. But if you are like at a support group meeting, whether it's AA or Al-Anon or a church Bible study or whatever that you have going on, you will find that people sit at the same level, and we do that for a reason. When you're above them, it's an authoritative. You are the expert or the authority, and when you're the same level, you're equal. So be very careful when it comes to that in communication. Communication is vital, and if we're going to have good communication, let's be on their level. So that kind of is a big thing, and we want the same thing in return. Again, body language about. I know we talked about this some yesterday. Being engaged. If we're sitting and we sit on a couch and he has his side and I have my side just because that's where the coffee tables are or end tables are. Um, and we're just having a conversation just about anything. You know, like, hey, this is what I saw on Facebook, or just whatever conversation. Just we can kind of just turn our heads and look at each other and have this conversation. But if one of us has something important to say, I found that if we kind of turn our whole bodies and face them, you're now engaged, and that's a big deal. Is showing your engagement into what they have. The other thing that we do is, and we found that this works, and it's kind of interesting when you're talking about body language and positioning, is that if we get into a situation where we're arguing or the whole feeling um, that he's feeling needing space and we're in a moment, he will get up and sit on the love seat, and I will be on the couch and ask for that distance. So again, remember I'm a hugger and a yeller, but I want to like touch him and love on him. And when he's in that bubble, I can't do that. So your body language is important, and you have to be aware that it's okay for him to sit on the love seat and okay for you to sit on the couch and have a conversation. You're still at eye. So just kind of think about those things. Because it plays a huge role in how we effectively communicate. The other body language thing, and I can remember this, and God knows I was famous, is they come home from work or wherever they may be, and it happens to us too as we come home from work and they've been the ones at home. And we're still standing at the door walking in, or they're still standing walking in, and we want to tell them about our day, or they want to tell us about their whatever, or we're going to complain. And we do it before anybody gets comfortable. So it's like this barrage of stuff that we just kind of throw out there. And it's like, I remember when kids were little, and I would tell my husband, do you know what your kids did today? Da, da, da. Because I've been with them all day, right? I was like, eh. And I just wanted to vent, and he hadn't even walked in the door good. So that body language again, he's coming in, wants to get into his comfortable space, and I'm like, eh. And the same thing happens in reverse. Like our veteran may be doing something, sitting there and whatever, and we walk in, and it becomes this very much style. Um, it becomes this as soon as we walk in the door. It's like I'm in the world. Do you know what happened to me? So, and so now you feel attacked. So that body language is super important to kind of be on that plane. Um, and if I have, and I've said this before, if I have something important to discuss, I wait till he gets 2 cups of coffee. Doesn't matter. It works better that way. Unless, of course, you're using Death Wish. Okay. And just heads up, don't ever use it at night at 8 o'clock because you'd be up at 2:30 in the morning. Like, ooh, it was fun. Sorry, it's an inside thing with Sean and I. But just remember and read each other. Um, Body language. Another one is like we're engaging. So I'm leaning forward, right, to engage with y'all. But sometimes if we lean forward forcefully, it's a threat. Same thing happens in reverse. If you sit back and you're like, now how does he take that? Or how does anybody you're talking to take that? And they're just like this. They're like, you're not engaged. So finding that body language medium that works. Remember, we talked about that when you cross your arms and that whole little arm cross thing. It's a defensive thing and it's a defensive move, and that's not where they want, where anybody needs to be, is in that defensive feel. So don't cross up and act defensive because that doesn't help either. Um, there's all kinds of signs that are important, and you got to kind of figure out where you're going. But just remember, no threat. Um, don't be in a threatening position. I know I've talked about this before with Carl. It doesn't work if I come to him and put my hands on both sides, even if it's just like to kiss him. He's sitting down, he feels trapped, and so anything I have to say at that point. So learn those body language, and sometimes, and this is hard for us as the partners and the spouse, y'all. Sometimes they get in a place and they don't want to be trying to desensitize, and we have to learn to read that. And just because they don't want us in their space with our head on their shoulder or holding on to them doesn't mean they don't love us. It means that they need their space. It's overstimulating to them. And when we start doing some research, I think it's really going to come out that PTSD has a lot to do with the physical aspects of the brain and how that kind of all plays in, and overstimulation. We have triggers and they're overstimulated. So sometimes you need that space, that bubble to reset yourself. We do too. I mean, I need that space to reset myself. It's important to me. And I think they do too. So just be aware that if you kind of snuggle up to them and they pull away, don't take it personally. It's a body language thing. It means they need to be in their bubble, their bubble. Doesn't mean they don't love you. It's their bubble. So learn to feel that and read that. Learn to, as you're with him or them. Sorry, I keep forgetting we have both here. But learn those little truths and don't take it personal. That body language that they send off matters. Um, I know that, and I'm not divulging his personal stuff because he's let me open up so much about what goes on. But Carl has little ticks that I know now when I see them that he is in a place or going to a place or is in a moment for a moment. And when he does that, you have to learn to be aware that his body language speaks very loudly. And he will tell you that I don't pay attention. And I'm really learning now to pay attention to that because the body language is um, be careful and learn to read their body language. They tell you so much with their body, and we can tell them so much with our body language. So the way we approach things, the calming, the relaxing. We're not in a volatile situation. Conversation. It's respect. Um, Neither one of us can overpower the other when we're doing this. We have to learn that. Oh God, no, I really have a bad hair day. But we have to learn that our body language sends huge signals. So does theirs. So communication by words is incredibly important, but learning to communicate with body language is equally as important. So you're going to be able to tell as you start paying attention to body language if what you're saying they're listening to or comprehending based on their body language. So if you're talking to them and you see this withdrawal kind of closement, they're not hearing you. Doesn't mean that they don't want to hear you. Remember, we don't always know what's in their heads or where they are. And it doesn't mean they don't want to. So you got to look at how are you communicating effectively at that point. What communication are you getting? If Carl has, like I said, he has his kids, and if he moves his body in a certain way, I have nothing I'm going to say is going to fix it, or he's even going to hear it. So there is a lot of um, taking our time and learning to read each other. And those are just big things for us. So body language is very, very important. Having a loving presence is very, very important. We want to be loved, but do we love? And I think that that's huge. We want them to love us and show us love and affection, but do we do it first? Remember, it's not about us making all the changes. It's about actions having a reaction. And if we're shutting down and not being loving, how are they doing? How do we expect them to do that? Think about your kids. You're high strung, you're screaming at your kids, and things are going on in your house, and there's a lot of stuff going on. The kids are the worst they've ever been at that moment. That's because that's the tone that's set. So use your body language to create a calming tone. You can still be angry. You can still have a valid point, but a calming tone is so much more important. And being in that calming tone and a body language that isn't defensive, that's open. We want an open relationship with them. We want an honest relationship. So be open, be honest, open up and let them see the rawness of how we feel. But you don't have to do it by building defensive body language. You don't have to do it by shutting down. I can still tell him how angry I am in this time. I can still tell him how mad I am in this time. And he is much more receptive to me speaking like this than me going, because I do. And when I speak in this tone, he's much more open. I'm not sitting here with my arms crossed. I'm not sitting here aggressively. And it's a tone. And that tone and that body language will do so much. I can say I love you to Carl 1,000 times a day. But if I don't show him I love him, the words are just words. So it's hard. It's hard to be open. It's hard to change the way we act, but we have to show them love. We have to show each other love. We have to reach out and create a community of love. There's so much anger in this world. And when we portray love and openness, communication will improve. No riot in the world is going to work when we're all screaming at each other. Sitting down at a table would be a first step in fixing and listening. Nobody's listening anymore. That comes from body language. Words, nothing. The language of your body doesn't show it. That's kind of where I am for today. I know it's tough. We love y'all. This community is absolutely amazing. The friends we've made along the way, the people we've talked to, the being a community. Um, you cannot begin to imagine what this is like for us. And we started out small, and literally we don't have all the things in place that the posh polish that we want, because it just kind of exploded, and we just go and we roll with it. So we may not have the best looking website, and we may not have the best looking YouTube channel, um, but it's coming. I mean, we're getting there, but I don't really care what it looks like as long as the message in the community get across. So again, thank you. Follow us in our group. We have Loving My Veteran, Living with PTSD group that you can kind of open up and be part of the community. I know that by next week we will have newsletters. Yay, super excited. And I will have a way to for you to subscribe on just about everything social media wise. YouTube channel, please subscribe to the YouTube channel where there'll be tons of videos, conversations. We have a Zoom meeting tonight on Let's Talk. It is at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Click in anytime you want. There'll be obviously me and Carl and Jeremy, our one of our veterans, whoever else can come in, and you'll kind of get both perspectives. It's just open and honest. It is where it is. We I know that when we talked yesterday, during our little coffee conversation in collaboration with my amazing friends at Behind the Service, we talked about doing more interactive stuff. Um, and so what we're going to do is we're going to kind of coordinate our schedules so that we're not doing something at the same time, so that you have all this availability just to reach out to this community and be part of a community of people who care and love you. That's one thing, and I want to finish up with this, Sean, because I think you're going to understand. When For those of you who were with your spouse, and I was with my ex-husband at the time, but I lived in a military community. He was on a Navy base. And the thing that happened was is that everybody who lived on the base, when that carrier left with 5,000 people, there were 5,000 wives and 5,000 kids. The families were all there together, and we all went through it together, in the same location. And so when you get out and you become a veteran, we're now spread all over everywhere. I mean, we're not just in the United States. We have veterans that have moved to other countries. So we're everywhere. And that sense of somebody else being in the same situation where you can vent to, like you were when you were in the confines of a base or in the military community, isn't there. And that's what organizations like us and friends at Behind the Service, and there's so many more. Let's Live to Tell. They do a buddy up program. That's what we're about, is becoming a community that can uplift and support you and be this amazing community of people and the people we've had that respond that are now active in what we're doing and are giving advice and being part of that. It is an amazing thing. So please follow us, join us. Just always remember that you are not a number to us. You are a name. Your life matters. Your veteran's life matters. And please follow our Facebook page and social media um, support groups. And I know that behind the services, like we're going to talk after I have another cup of coffee um, about how we can collaborate to start helping those victims of Hurricane Sally. So there'll be a lot of information coming out on all of our social medias about how you can help or if you need help. So we love you. I will see you tomorrow. I'm sure we'll do a live at some point between now and then. Love to talk to you tonight. I will repost the link in just a minute to the Zoom meeting. So please get on with us at Zoom tonight and have a conversation. Open, honest. We're just there to talk and just have a great conversation. Y'all have a great day. Bye.